Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we're going to be doing our first deck tech for March of the Machine Standards. I got invited, thanks to Wizards, to the early access stream this Thursday. I'm going to be live on YouTube pretty much the entirety of Thursday afternoon Eastern time, and then hopefully a bit of Friday morning as well, playing a bunch of new brews with the new cards. It is all access, so we'll be testing out a bunch of decks. As always, kind of throw together some ideas of things I want to try out, some new set mechanics, stuff of that nature. Preface as always, these are not intended to be day one, like best decks in the formats. It's really to try out the new cards, get a feel, see what things are, get conversation going with folks in the community, and get a kind of, it's just a fun time. I get to brew without the ladder anxiety, whatever you may. So this first deck that we're going to be trying out today is a Jund black, red, green battle focused deck. So battles are a new card type. You notice the Traxa had that little line that said battle as a type. So how battles work, and you see one on the screen here, we have Battle of Asgold. You have a card that you cast. It is a permanent type. So you cast it, it enters the battlefield, and it has some sort of effect. So in the case of Invasion of Asgold, which we're playing 4 of in our deck, it enters the battlefield, target player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker and loses 1 life. So 2 mana, opponent sacks a creature or planeswalker. How it works is the battle stays on kind of your opponent's side of the field, and you kind of attack it as though it was like a planeswalker, for example. It has counters, so in this case it enters with 4 counters that you see in the bottom right hand corner. And from there, once you get it down and you remove all the counters from it, whether it be through damage, you'll see in the deck in a sec, we play Glissa that can remove counters, it transforms. When it transforms, you're able to cast this card for basically for free, and it comes back on your side of the field. So once we remove those 4 counters, we get a 2/1 menace that at the beginning of our end step, we put a counter on Ashen Reaper if a permanent was put into a graveyard from battlefield this turn. So just killing things, we get value, and then it gets bigger. So kill something of the opponents, and then we get a creature on the flip side. So we have Ashen Reaper there with the Invasion of Asgold. And we're playing 4 copies of this card here. I'll show you the full deck list in a sec, but it's a little awkward looking at this angle. That's the one thing, we all got to tilt our heads when looking at these cards. So another card we're looking at is Invasion of Ergamon. So this is a Gruul battle, so a green and a red for 5. We'll call it loyalty, whatever they want to call it. So when this enters the battlefield, we get to create a treasure token. Then we can discard a card. If we do, we get to draw a card. So looting effect, as well as gives us some ramp. And then when we flip, we get a 3/4 Trampler that enters the battlefield. We can discard a card. If we do, we get to search either for a land, or we get to search for a battle, reveal it, and put it into our hand. So we are playing a couple 1-of battles in the deck as well that we can tutor up. But another card that helps us ramp ahead, and then it gives us a 3/4 Trampler on the flip side. I'm not sure how good this one particularly is, but I'm interested in trying it nonetheless. We then move to Invasion of Tarkir. So this is a 2 mana, 5 loyalty. So when it enters the battlefield, you reveal any number of dragon cards from your hand. When you do, it deals X plus 2 damage to any other target, where X is the number of cards revealed this way. So at the very least, it's shock for 2 mana, like stomp style effect. And we are playing a couple dragons. There's not a huge variety of dragons that are really profitable. But for the most part, it's just kind of some removal. You'll notice 2 of the sagas, or 2 of the battles thus far, are removal based. And then when we flip it over, we have Defiant Thundermaw. So it's a flying trample 4/4, and then whenever a dragon you control attacks, it deals 2 damage to any target. So even it's a 4/4 that deals 2 damage on attack, which seems like a pretty good rate. Now we're going to look at, so these first 3, we're playing 4 of each of those in our deck. And then the 2 that we're playing that I want to see how they work out with as tutorable options, we have Invasion of Innistrad, 4 mana, 5 loyalty, flash, so we can play it at instant speed. And it's kind of the tragic slip, a kind of a throwback to the Innistrad era. Enters the battlefield, target creature an opponent controls gets -13/13 till end of turn. So just another removal spell. So these are like permanents that are removal spells that we get added value later. And then when it flips over, we get Deluge of the Dead. So it's worth noting that when you cast the flip side, you are casting it. So it is subject to any sort of tax effects. It could be countered by your opponent as well. So when Deluge of the Dead enters the battlefield, you get to create 2/2 zombies. And then for 3 mana, you can exile a creature card. You can exile a card from a graveyard. If it's a creature, you get to create a zombie. So late game, it's also a mana sink as you eat away at your opponent's graveyard. And then the last battle we're going to try out is Invasion of Chandalar. So this is a 5 mana, 4 loyalty. When it enters the battlefield, return up to 3 permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. So it's kind of a buyback effect. And then when it flips, we have Leyline Surge. So at the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. So basically free cast stuff from your hand. So those are the battles that we've been looking at. How are we tying this together with the deck? So as I mentioned, 4 of all these cheap ones. We are playing it in a Jund deck. So we have Blood Tithe Harvester, Fable, the Mirror Breaker, kind of the core of these Jund decks. The Fable gives us bodies, helps us loot, set up things, and then once it flips, we can actually copy the flip side of the battles as well. So we get some value there. Even think like on upkeep, you can copy the invasion with the triggers, and then you get kind of 2 free casts. Blood Tithe Harvester as removals. Glissa is another useful card here. Makes creature combat really awkward. You can draw cards, destroy enchantments, or you can remove up to 3 counters from target permanent, which can also be removing the counters from the battles themselves. Another cool card that we're getting in this go around, it is our Questing Beast kind of parallel. It's the Questing Dino. So it's a 4 mana 4/4 Trample Haste dinosaur. 3 mana, we can pump and gets +2/0 till on the turn. And then whenever it deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to target planeswalker that player controls or to target battle that player protects. So you can go aggressive, attack your opponent, while then still getting that value and blowing up the various battles. As I mentioned, we are playing a couple dragons in Atushi. So we can reveal this, get some value. Atushi also provides card advantage as well as treasures in the event that it dies. So a little bit of value there with the dragon kind of theme. And then lastly, we're trying out 1 copy of the new Sheoldred. So the new Sheoldred, when it enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature or planeswalker. So again, just value. All our creatures, all our effects are like kind of removal stapled onto other things. And then what we can do is we can transform Sheoldred. So for 5 mana, we exile Sheoldred, return it to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. You can only activate this at sorcery speed, and if an opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard. What happens? It flips into a saga. So chapter 1, we get the lore counter for each opponent, destroy up to 1 target creature or planeswalker that player controls. Chapter 2, each opponent discards 3 cards and then mills 3 cards. And then chapter 3, put all creature cards from all graveyards on the battlefield under your control. Exile the True Scriptures and then return it to the battlefield, and then it comes back as Sheoldred. So this is kind of our top end big payoff card. Now, like I said, we can play the Sheoldred the Apocalypse, we can play Graveyard Trespasser, we can play some Go for the Throats, we can play Invoke Despair. Like there's a whole bunch of things we can consider for this deck that already exist, but really what the core of what I want to do here is try out some of these new battles, see which really stick out, which don't. Unfortunately, Unleash the Inferno seemed like it'd be really good, but it specifically mentions creature or planeswalker, so we can't direct it to the battles. I have the mana base here if you want to consider it as well, just a bunch of duels. Taking a chance playing no basics, but for this event, I don't think we're going to get Field of Ruin that often. But we'll see how it goes and kind of play it out from there. I put in the wrong Boseiju, so I'm going to update that. Should be the green Boseiju, not the OG Boseiju, so I will fix that. But let me know what you think of battles in general. If you have any cool ideas, deck lists, I'm going to try to play as many decks as I can that day to show off as many of the cards, so drop them in the comments as well. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great one. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. Free, easy, helps out the channel. And just of note, I am donating all my YouTube revenue this month to local Toronto-based food banks. So if you want to help out charity, help out those in need, just watch any of my videos. All the money is going to the charities. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great one. Stay safe out there.